How should a Christian guy ask a girl out? That's what we're going to talk about in this episode. Hey everybody, I'm Mark from ApplyGodsWord.com, a place where we apply the Bible to your life. So this question can seem really straightforward. Just ask her, right? Well, within Christianity and within the church, there's a lot of different views on a dating and courting and how you should go about starting a relationship. And there's a lot of questions about this process of actually asking a girl out. So I'm going to give you 4 tips on this topic. The first thing you're going to want to do is define what you mean by ask a girl out. So it really depends on if you're coming from a courting mindset or a Christian dating mindset. I have a whole nother video that talks about the differences and similarities, the pros and cons between the Christian dating model and the Christian courting model. So I won't unpack all the differences again within this video. But the reason I bring that up is because in one model, the courting model, asking a girl out means you're asking her to be in a serious, intentional dating or courting relationship where you're specifically figuring out if you want to get married or not. And in a Christian dating mindset, ask a girl out could mean a couple different things. It could mean ask her out on a date, like just one date, and you're not going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Or it could mean that you want to enter into a more serious relationship where you're an official couple. So the first thing you want to do is define what you think is best in this situation, which really brings up point 2. You should let the pre-existing relationship that you have with this girl dictate the way you're going to ask her out. What I mean by that is if you have a close friendship with this girl already, if you already have a pretty solid pre-existing relationship and you know each other well, maybe you've been friends even for a few years and all of a sudden you're starting to get more romantic feelings for her and you want to get into a relationship with this girl, then I think you should lean more towards the courting side and more towards the ask her out to be in a serious relationship type of way. If you don't know the girl that well, you maybe have a friendship but it's not like really deep and you guys wouldn't consider yourself like close friends or anything, or maybe you don't even really know her or you're just acquaintances, I would then lean more towards the ask her out on a date side of things. One of the reasons I say that is because if you already have a solid friendship with this girl, there's really more at stake and you should be a little bit more cautious in entering into a relationship, a dating relationship with this girl, because it's going to alter the friendship. And if you already know this person really well, you're not going to need those beginning phases of a dating scene where you're just like going on a few dates without any kind of relationship or a committed relationship. You're not going to need that as much, and so you don't want to just go through those steps for no reason. However, if you don't know the girl that well and you're leaning on the courting side and you're having this committed relationship, this very intense define the relationship conversation, and you're talking about marriage and you barely know the girl, odds are you're going to scare her away. So you don't want to jam yourself into one model or the other. Rather, you want to look at the pre-existing relationship that you already have with this girl and then base your approach upon that. If you already know her really well and you have a solid relationship, well, you're probably going to want to move a little bit faster and get more serious and have that heart-to-heart, so to speak, to kind of define where you're at with your feelings. If you don't know that girl that very well and you're just really interested and you like to enter into a dating relationship, well then maybe ask her out on a date rather than to be a couple. Number 3 is about what means of communication is best to use when asking this girl out. So you can talk to her in person, you can talk to her on the phone, you can text, or you could use social media. Now, I don't recommend all of those means of communication, but those are some of the common options that are available to you. So, in my opinion, the best option is to talk to her in person, especially if you're entering into a more serious conversation and you're asking her out to be your girlfriend. That would definitely err more on the side of ask her in person, because that's going to be the most respectful and mature way to do it. Talking on the phone is also a good option when it's not as easy or possible to talk face to face. For example, when I started dating my wife and I asked her out, she was living in North Carolina and I was living in Cleveland, so I had a phone conversation with her when I officially asked her out. Now, what about texting? Texting, in my opinion, is not appropriate unless you're leaning way more on the side of a casual date. I don't think it's a bad option if you don't know the girl that well and you want to present a low commitment offer where you're intentionally trying not to put too much pressure on this conversation, where you want it to be kind of light and you're saying, hey, would you like to go out on a date and just spend some time together, go to a movie or go to dinner, hang out with some friends, whatever it is that you're planning. A text isn't the worst idea, because if you don't want to put a lot of pressure on her and you're trying to make it seem like it's a very casual invitation, she might be more likely to accept that than if you have this serious, intense conversation with her. The one that I really don't see a good purpose for is social media. Well, I think it's sometimes appropriate to try to not put pressure and to try not to make it seem too serious. You also don't want to do things so nonchalant that you come off kind of flaky and that you come off kind of immature. And in my opinion, social media does do that. So in summary on this point, you should use the means of communication that you think is going to be most effective. But in my opinion, your best option in most cases is just in person, have a conversation. Phone call is, decent if you want to have a serious conversation or you just want to ask a girl out in general in a lighthearted way. Texting, definitely don't do that if you want to get into a serious relationship, but you want to keep it light, not a bad idea. Social media, my opinion, kind of comes off kind of spammy, kind of weird, so I wouldn't go there. Number 4 is, should you talk to the girl's father or mother or pastor or mentor? Should you talk to other people to ask permission, so to speak, or to, just introduce yourself? Should you do that? And the reason that comes up is because, maybe a decade or two ago when the courting model was really popular, it was pretty much a standard approach that you would talk to the girl's father before even asking her out. So in my opinion, with a more modern Christian dating mindset that most people have right now, that approach might actually be even disrespectful and might seem to undermine the girl's, personal responsibility for her own life. So in my opinion, the best approach in most cases is, again, kind of dependent on if you're going for the more serious mode or the casual mode. If you're entering into a more serious conversation where you're asking her out to be your girlfriend, then I would say ask her first, but then be intentional about introducing yourself to her parents or mentor or pastor if she has a good relationship with those other people in that way. When you do this, you're not asking permission like in the courting model, but it is a sign of respect to introduce yourself to the people that she really cares about and to the people that are invested in her life. Now, if you're just going to ask a girl out on a date, that's when I don't think you need to really worry about introducing yourself to her parents or, the spiritual mentors in her life. If you're going on the more casual route, that might become a little bit awkward and a little bit forced and just a little bit too much too soon. Now, a couple, exceptions to the general advice that I gave you is where you would ask her out and then introduce yourself afterwards as a sign of respect would be, first off, what the girl views as respectful. If she comes from a very conservative, complementarian, or courting mindset, then I think you should do what's most respectful to her in her eyes. So when you're trying to show respect to somebody, it's not about what you think is respectful, it's about what they think is respectful. So if I'm going to go to visit someone in another culture, the way I show respect is not by bringing my cultural norms into their household. Rather, I adopt what they think is culturally respectful, and I do that to show them respect. So realistically, you should do what the girl finds most respectful. If she's coming from that mindset, then you should do that, and you should show her respect in that way. Another example where it might be a good idea to talk to the girl's parents before you ask her out is if you both are younger and she's living under her parents' roof. Maybe you're even, late teens, and there's still a lot of parental involvement in both of your lives or in her life. Then, depending on the family unit and how they view this type of thing, it might be a better option to talk to the parents first to see what their thoughts are and if it's okay to ask her out. But again, in most cases, I think the most respectful approach is to ask the girl and then don't go to her parents or her dad or her mom to ask permission, because, she's an adult. She should make that choice for herself, but rather as a sign of respect to her and her family, making the effort to introduce yourself and just basically to let them know who you are. You're not a creep. You don't have bad intentions. That's how you show respect. In summary, you want to ask a girl out in the way that is going to be best received in her view. So you have to know the girl a little bit. You can't just, put every single female into the same box and think that they would all receive information in the same way. All of our own backgrounds and personal experiences and beliefs shape what we view as respectful. So whatever you think is the most honoring way to ask the girl out, that's what you should do. Well, if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to link to some other videos in the description below that will help you keep learning about this topic of Christian dating, how you can start a successful relationship, and really how you can honor the Lord in this area of your life. You might also be interested in my newest book called The One. It's actually right over my back shoulder there. I'm selling it right now for $2.99 in the Kindle version. If you don't have a Kindle reader, don't worry. You can download the free Kindle app on any device, a smartphone, an iPad, anything like that, and you can read all Kindle books for free once you purchase them, or if it's a free ebook on Kindle, you can read those there. So if you want to get that book, you can download the app right on your phone or right on your iPad, and you can read that entire thing for $2.99. So if you're interested in this new book called The One, I'll leave some links in the description below. Well, thanks for watching, and God bless.